Assalamu alaikum, Your Excellency, President Masood Khan Saab. It is a pleasure, it's an honor to have you here with us today at Kashmir Civitas YouTube channel, which we've recently launched. You have had, Your Excellency, a distinguished, illustrious career. You have led Pakistan at the United Nations in many different capacities, and now you have taken on a very challenging role that many Kashmiris look up to you as thinking that the role that you have is critical on both sides of the ceasefire line. And I wanted to talk to you today about a lot of what's happening recently and how this fits in with the future plan and how Kashmiris together can move forward to confront this juggernaut. You know, Washington Irving, Your Excellency, has a quote: "Villainy wears many masks, none more deadly than virtue." And for a long time, I believe the crimes of the Indian state in Indian occupied Kashmir were hidden. They were not shown to the world. And there was this almost euphoria in regards to incredible India that has come collapsing down, particularly after August 5th. So I'd like to start our discussions with that. How would you characterize the last several months in regards to the Indian occupation of Kashmir?
Well, let's talk about, let me first, in fact, congratulate you on this new platform that you have created. This platform is becoming visible, and I'm sure as we go along, it would be a very effective launching pad for the Kashmir struggle. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And it is digitally based, which means that it will connect not just people physically, but virtually across the continents. So that's a very good initiative. Second, about your question, you know, the situation in the occupied Jammu and Kashmir right now is very dark, dismal, and dreary. And it is passing through the darkest period of its history. And today I tweeted that the worst has already happened. I mean, the next stage is that there would be a genocide and there would be a denial by the Indian government, the BJP and the RSS regime, and the rest of the world, the Western world, would look the other way because there would be no Nuremberg courts or tribunals for the Kashmiris, because everybody is seeing that they are being killed, butchered, maimed, blinded, tortured, disappeared, and nobody is taking cognizance of these serious crimes against humanity. You know, these new domicile laws were enforced by India, but the United Nations, the Security Council, whose resolutions on Kashmir have been violated by India by introducing these laws, is completely silent. This is criminal silence, and this is dereliction of obligation. Similarly, I mean, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, of course, it has condemned these rules, but other international forums like the Human Rights Council, like the International Committee of the Red Cross, they are all silent. And we do understand that the world is preoccupied with COVID-19. It's a very virulent virus, and it's a very, very difficult pandemic, difficult situation for the rest of the world. But still, I think that these crimes which are happening in Kashmir, I would dare say, are more serious than the depredations of COVID-19.
Fantastic. And I really appreciate the way that you put it, Your Excellency, a dereliction of duty. The United Nations has a duty to uphold its own Security Council resolutions. And as you've mentioned, that India has, basically with its new domicile law, effectively thrown that into the trash bin. So let's talk a little bit more about that, Your Excellency. What exactly is India hoping to achieve with this new domicile law?
I'll give you the full inventory, and then I'll come to the new domicile laws. Right now, what is happening is that under the cover of COVID-19, the Indian occupation forces are killing young boys in these staged fake encounters. They go after these boys and then they kill them in cold blood. They blast their houses. In the most crowded places. So this is also a crime. So this is something which is very serious. I mean, right now, they are hunting down these boys and they're eliminating them one by one. Somebody gave this analogy that in the past 2 weeks, 30 boys have been killed. And only 9 corona patients died. So which virus is more dangerous, the Modi virus or occupation virus or the coronavirus? For Kashmiris, the coronavirus is less dangerous, less lethal than the Modi virus. So the second thing they are doing is that they are persecuting journalists. They have imposed this gag order. Anybody who speaks freely or uploads photographs, they are designated or termed as traitors. There are these examples of Masood Zahra and Gohar Gilani and Pirzada Ashik. Now, they have committed no crime at all, but they're using these draconian laws to book them. So, of course, these Reporters Without Borders and Committee to Protect Journalists, they have protested, but it is having no impact on the occupation authorities. Now, let me come to the new domicile laws. Now, this is continuity of what they did on August the 5th last year. You would recall that on that day, they rescinded Article 370. So they did away with the symbolic or cosmetic autonomy that the Kashmiris had. Kashmiris up to that point had a flag, a constitution, some semblance of autonomy. So they demolished all of that without the consent of the people. Although there was a compact, a contract between the occupied territory and the Indian Federation in the form of that article. So that was repealed. And then, of course, they also repealed Article 35A. Now, what is Article 35A? This was very important because this recognized the rights of the Kashmiris to acquisition of property, to permanent residence, to education, to employment, and this predated 1947. Now, by repealing Article 35A, India has in fact completely disenfranchised the Kashmiris. Now, these new domicile rules are a sequel to the repeal of Article 35A. Now, these rules say that Hindus who lived in the Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir for the past 15 years, or somebody who studied in the territory for 7 years, or somebody who's appeared in the 10th or 11th or 12th class examinations, they qualify to get domicile in the occupied territory. In practice, what they're doing is that they are facilitating residence for the ex-army officers, their families, their children, ex-civil servants, Hindu civil servants and Hindu military officers. Now, the number could be in hundreds of thousands. And then they are also opening doors for these migrant workers from different parts of India, from Maharashtra or Bihar or Bengal or Punjab or Rajasthan or Delhi or UP. And they are already there in the Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. They are Hindus, most of them are Hindus, and they're settling them there. And then they have Hindu refugees, the refugees who had migrated to Punjab, basically East Punjab, back in 1947. But they pushed them deliberately into the Jammu region, and now they are also more than 300,000. So cumulatively, they want to import about 300,000, 300,000, no, not 2 million Hindus, and just distort and change and transform the demography of the region. So this, let me tell you, let me add here that these are war crimes, crimes against humanity. These are instances of genocide, and this is ethnic cleansing. And who says that? Which laws say that? This is the Fourth Geneva Convention. This is the ICC statute. This is the Security Council resolutions. And these are reports of special rapporteurs commissioned by the Human Rights Council or the Human Rights Commission. So these are crimes against humanity, and therefore India is accountable, but India is flagrantly violating these resolutions. So a genocide is taking place. As I said, that right now, India has entered into a phase where genocide on a mass scale is about to happen, and then there would be denial by India that no, nothing has happened, that everything is normal. But yesterday I said, participating in a webinar, that normalcy, yes, but it's normalcy of the graveyard.
Fantastic overview, Your Excellency, and it's very moving. And you're right, the situation is very, as you put it, dark, dismal, and dreary. Now, what now? What do you think? So people like myself and our friends and colleagues that are trying to do our part outside, what recommendations, what advice would you have for us? How would you encourage us to move forward?
You know, right now there are many limitations because of COVID-19. The world is experiencing lockdown, but I have compared and contrasted this lockdown with the Indian lockdown, because the Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir is under twin lockdown, 2 lockdowns, and I have compared them. The COVID-19 lockdown is for the safety of the people, so that they isolate themselves, that they practice cleanliness, and that they do social distances. And this is a kind of treatment, and the purpose is to save lives. You save your life, and you save the life of others and of the communities. But the purpose of the Indian lockdown is to kill people, to besiege them, to eliminate them. So you have to understand this difference between these 2 lockdowns. One is punitive, the other is a medical lockdown. So, but still, I mean, India has used the second lockdown as a cover to exacerbate and accelerate its atrocities in the territory. Now, your question is different. You asked what we can do. I think that, India introduced these laws, these despicable domicile laws, in the dead of night, stealthily, clandestinely, furtively. And the purpose is to remove Kashmir from the global agenda. And they think that they can get away with murder because everybody is preoccupied with COVID-19, and they might as well succeed. So it is our responsibility. It is your responsibility. It's my responsibility. It is every Kashmiri's responsibility, every Pakistani's responsibility to not let that happen. Keep the issue alive. Absolutely. And keep Kashmir on the global agenda. Let me tell you that the story of Kashmir was disappearing from the international media. But I'm happy that we are now seeing a rebound. It is bouncing back.
Yes, we are.
Because of the atrocities of the occupation forces. There are many stories today in the mainstream media. You will see it in the Guardian or the Washington Post or the New York Times and many other newspapers. I was talking to French journalists and intellectuals and academia earlier today, and they are writing, there was one story written in the French paper, and there was one documentary which was broadcast on May the 3rd this month. So what I'm saying is that this story is resurfacing, and this Indian tactic to wipe it off the international agenda is not succeeding. So our responsibility is, let me tell you, to keep the issue alive. Now, what are the tools that we have right now? I'd say that the kind of conferences that we are having, I mean, we're using this Zoom technology for interface, for interaction. But also I've advised many people that write directly to the leaders and stakeholders, write to the United Nations Secretary General, to the President of the Security Council, to the High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, to the President of the International Committee of the Red Cross, write to the President of the European Parliament, because you would recall that towards the end of March, 650 European parliamentarians had introduced and tabled, in fact, some half a dozen resolutions. And those resolutions had 2 points. One was that they asked India, in fact, they warned India not to go ahead with anti-Muslim laws in India. They said that anti-Islamism and Islamophobia is going to create a crisis of statelessness in the world, and that this would be the biggest number of stateless citizens in the world in the history of mankind. The second message these parliamentarians gave to India was to implement the United Nations Security Council resolutions. And, so write to them directed to the President of the European Parliament. Also, we've been in touch with the British parliamentarians. A negative development has taken place in the United Kingdom. New Labour Party leader, Keir Starmer, has changed the stance. He was lobbied by the British Indians, and he caved in. But there's a revolt against the position that he has taken. And there are many voices, many MPs who are raising their voices against the position that this new leader has taken. And they say that they would not countenance this kind of revisionism in Labour's established policy. Well, I have sent some messages to this new Labour leader, Mr. Starmer, and I said, look, I said it's a cross-party issue. It is not an exclusive prerogative of Labour. And last time I was in London, I can tell you that a conference was hosted by Paul Bristow, MP from Peterborough. And, there were about 50 MPs who showed up. A majority of them were Conservatives. And they were outraged. And I sent this message to Mr. Starmer that it's a cross-party issue, that there's a consensus, and that Conservatives, Labour, Lib Dems, SNP all support this principled stance on Kashmir. Another point that I want to highlight, and this is not just for the United Kingdom, but for the whole of Europe and particularly to France, that the United Kingdom is a permanent member of the Security Council. So if you say that it's a bilateral issue between India and Pakistan and go and resolve it, and we have nothing to do with this issue, and you wash your hands off this issue, which is basically your legacy, and why are you sitting in the Security Council as a permanent member? It is your responsibility to save the world from the scourge of war and to come to the rescue of brutalized populations all around the world. I mean, let's recall that last century, in the interwar period, they did not come to the rescue of the Jews, and they were eliminated, annihilated. So this is that we should be proactive, that we should be writing to these leaders. This time, we should write directly to the leadership. And you have a platform, and you generate these briefs and monographs and send them to the leadership.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for those wonderful insights and that advice as we move together forward to try to help these brutalized people from Indian occupation. I want to particularly, again, thank you for the great efforts you're doing online, your activity, your activism, and your inspiration for so many millions of people throughout the world, particularly amongst the Kashmiri diaspora community.
In the beginning, you had asked about my 6 points, and it is very important to repeat them. Yes. Now, these 6 points are that we should forge unity. We should not talk in different conflicting voices. Yesterday, I said that this kind of posture would be cacophony, not policy. So forge unity, demonstrate unity. Second is go back to the international community, because the bilateral process has been a hoax. It has been a mirage. India has been biding time. India has been deluding you into believing that there could be a solution. But now you know that Narendra Modi and his cohorts, they have closed all doors for talks. There is no peace table. There is no negotiating table between India and Pakistan. So if we talk about bilateral talks, we're talking about a monologue. We'd be talking to ourselves. I mean, Kashmiris and Pakistanis would be talking, and that would be preaching to the choir. And there would be no interlocutor. I mean, there would be nobody sitting on the other side of the table. So go to the United Nations, to the international financial institutions, also to, because why do I mention international financial institutions? Because we should start boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement against India. We should talk to the entrepreneurs and corporate leaders of the world and ask a question: why do you want to underwrite India's fascism and its tyranny in Kashmir? So that's why I say go to the international community. That includes parliaments, that includes international civil society, human rights organizations. The third is that we must leverage the strengths of the diaspora community. You know, we have 10 million strong diaspora community all over the world.
Wow. And
they have made Kashmir an international movement, like the Vietnam movement.
Right.
This is our Vietnam moment, and we must use it or lose it.
Right.
And international community, your diaspora community has turned this Kashmir movement into an international movement. Leverage their strengths. They do not need your money. They just need some sort of coordination. The fourth point is that we must invest in communication, whether it is the media or think tanks or academic institutions, because there's a big vacuum there. There's the Indian story, which people download and parrot it ad nauseum. And so the true story of Kashmir doesn't get broadcast.
Right.
So communication is very important. And we can have further discussion on this. The fifth point is that we should have a strong Pakistan and strong Azad Kashmir, economically, politically, strategically, because a weak Pakistan cannot be a launching pad for winning freedom for Kashmir.
That's right.
And Kashmiris without Pakistan cannot do it alone. This is what I believe, and therefore we have to invest in the national security and national strength of Pakistan and Azad Kashmir. The last point is that we must reach out to Indian civil society and political forces which are sympathetic to Pakistan, to Kashmiris. And there are hundreds of millions of people who do not agree with Mr. Modi or Mr. Amit Shah or Rajnath Singh. They abhor them, as a matter of fact. And they do not want to support this reincarnation of fascism. So we must have an interface with them. The intellectuals, also some state leaders, I mean, like regional parties, and also the grassroots communities. My last point is you use the word virtuous. And I would say that there's never been anything virtuous about India's occupation of Jammu and Kashmir. It has always been an evil act. And whether it was Congress or other parties, and now it is the Bharatiya Janata Party, all their tactics have been Machiavellian, and they have been geared towards subjugating the people of Jammu and Kashmir. But let me make this final point, that this is the determination of the people of Jammu and Kashmir, that they would not capitulate or surrender under any circumstances, that they have waged this war for independence for the past 200 years. Absolutely. And they have never given any signal that they would stop this struggle. They have given their blood for liberty and freedom and self-determination. And no power on earth can defeat us or deprive us of our inherent right to liberty and freedom.
Beautifully articulated, Your Excellency. Thank you very much for that. And we look forward to working together and moving this issue forward. I really, in closing, want to just, again, say how much so many of us Kashmiris living outside appreciate all the work and your wisdom and your insights, your activism. We appreciate all that you're doing and take your advice very seriously. I think one of the best things that's happened now for the Kashmiris is a realization that Kashmir is not an integral part of India. And as you mentioned, this narrative that India had pushed, trying to pull the wool over everybody's eyes, it's starting to come undone. There's people are recognizing, as you mentioned, their Machiavellian character, whether it was Congress or the BJP, and in particular, the deceit and the lies that this is an integral part. This has never been an integral part of India, and it will not be an integral part of India. And thank you for making those positions very clear.
Just this little bit.
Sure.
Yesterday, Samit Batra, who is the spokesperson of the BJP,
right,
he said that, Rahul Gandhi had congratulated the 3 photographers who were given Pulitzer Prize. And Samit Batra had sought an explanation, hinting that he was a traitor, that this was a treasonable act. And he said he was wrong, that Rahul Gandhi was wrong. He tweeted. And I retweeted. And this is what I wrote. I said, Rahul Gandhi is right and you're wrong. And Kashmir has never been an integral part of India. And if you have any doubt, go to Srinagar and ask a child. Yes. And a child will tell you that Kashmir is not part of India and that it is under occupation.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Great insight. And we look forward to having you again and sharing your insights. Please do let us know if there's anything that you would like people in the diaspora to do. And we look forward to our collaboration.
Well, I congratulate on what you're doing. And you are an icon for young men and women of Jammu and Kashmir and Pakistan. We are proud of you. And I think that you would be a trailblazer and a trendsetter in the years to come. And I think that you would be able to identify new avenues for making it possible for the Kashmiri youth to win freedom.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. I appreciate the generosity of your words, and thank you for your time, Your Excellency.
Thank you, and pleasure to see. My last words are, you look healthy, and I would say stay safe and healthy.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Okay. Wa alaikum assalam. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.